Oh my god. Don't pop that. No.
That's what happens when I don't.
Please don't fucking.
I don't have my glasses on, so I didn't even realize that was a taser until it.
I didn't either. I don't have my glasses on.
That worries me. I'm sitting next to you.
It's like, is this remote?
They call us the Ramblers. Yeah, the Ramblers. We ramble on and on and on and on and on.
Alright guys, so this is going to be our spoiler review of Avengers Endgame. I'm warning you.
Warned.
I'm just a big fan of Black Widow, you know, so I
for sure.
have one of her problems.
Rip.
I get that.
Just kidding.
Okay, I know it's a spoiler review, but Jesus Christ.
You're gonna jump out immediately.
Yeah, so Black Widow dies. Hey, I'm Thanos.
I think everyone pretty much figured that Hawkeye's family was going to die. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be the opening scene.
Because you can't really put that scene in Infinity War, like, they're fighting Thanos over there, the battle in Wakanda. Meanwhile.
I love that though. I think that's a great way to open it out because and it sets his desperation throughout the rest of the film just immediately.
I actually thought Hawkeye was at its best in this movie.
True.
For a 3-hour movie, they gave him, I feel like, a good amount of screen time.
But he had a really cool Ronin moment when he was in Tokyo. It was like a really long tracking shot. He was going through massacring people in a building. Like you don't even have to see it. You just hear the gun flashes within the windows, and you're just like, you know, he's killing people.
You hear the gun flashes.
You whatever.
That's how
good
good they are.
You hear the gun flashes and you see the gun sounds, and you know that's how that works.
You see the gun sounds? Gunshots?
Yeah, get out, guys.
You're not allowed in front of cameras.
Damn it!
Again.
Yeah, we're done. This is it. Yeah, we're not going
This
to talk about
happens
that.
way too often.
I hope you guys enjoyed our review of the first 30 minutes.
One thing that I was shocked by is how quickly this movie got started. Like, I thought Tony and Nebula were going to be in space for a long time, or for at least like the first act.
You know,
there was a theory that Captain Marvel would save Tony, and I really didn't think that was going to be true, but it was. You know, setting up Hawkeye's family, and then going to Tony and Nebula, setting up what's going on Earth, bringing Tony back, and then them having a plan to go stop Thanos. Like, all that happened.
And then they do it.
15. They do. I was shocked by how efficient they were.
What that was is like they seemingly were setting up a lot of Infinity War, and then within the first 15 minutes of the movie, they really wanted it to be like, hey, this is not Infinity War. This is a different movie. Like, you need to establish all that stuff and leave little bits of cliffhanger as to where it's going to go. But then it was very quickly, I mean, literally with a head rolling to the ground, they are like, this is not that movie.
Great way to open.
I did not expect that at all. It was like, well, Thanos is done for the whole movie.
Yeah, which exactly that was a beautiful way that they subverted expectations. I think that was really the biggest one right off the bat. Yeah, and I mean, like the moment that happened, I was sitting there like, I don't know where this movie's gonna go. Again, in the best of ways. Like being able to do that quickly in such an established franchise, where 15 minutes in, you're just, I don't know where the fuck this is going. That's a very impressive thing to do
for the 20-second movie. Marvel has been formulaic before multiple times in a lot of their earlier movies, and even a couple of their later ones. I feel like are still suffer from that, but this movie does not do that.
It's refreshing to know that 22 movies into this franchise, you can still be surprised with whatever they put out.
Yeah. That's why they're so successful. Because if these movies were formulaic every single time, people wouldn't go back to watch them anymore. People have been talking about us getting superhero fatigue for years. Kind of like Westerns. Westerns were popular for a while, and then people got sick of them. And that's what people thought was going to happen with these movies. But the fact that they keep changing it every single time, and keep changing the tone and everything else, and they keep changing our expectations, and that keeps bringing people back, along with the characters as well. They made us fall in love with them.
Unless it's Thor, and then they wait until the third movie.
Correct, yes.
I think that was a really smart plot thread, how they did that to coax the Avengers to go back in time by destroying all the Infinity Stones at the beginning of the movie. So now they're forced to revisit old timelines, bring back some old memories, some nostalgia.
Really, while also fleshing out the world a lot. Yeah. I really like how they did it. It's kind of like in Spider-Man Homecoming, the guys who are the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Like, it just really fleshed out the world a lot.
You made it feel more real.
Yeah, you kind of got to see the behind the scenes of the Marvel world.
You're not just seeing it from the perspective of the Avengers. And they bring back characters that, are either dead or were in past movies that I had no idea were going to show up.
There's one line you said, the Back to the Future movies are complete bullshit.
Great Scott! I thought that was a really smart way to do it, because you can do whatever you want in that timeline, and it's not going to affect what's going on in ours.
And Die Hard?
And Die Hard. Thanks, Scott. I love that shot. When he gets to see his daughter again after all these years. Dude, that tore at my heart.
There are so many moments in this movie where I was either tearing up or crying, and that was the beginning of it.
He did a good emotional performance right there. Like, he's been... Just to see the shock and the devastation, but also the pure hopefulness that he had on his face because he gets to see his daughter again.
Infinity Gauntlet. What's it called? I don't know. Endgame.
What is this? What are we even talking about anymore?
I don't know. He fucked it up.
Alright, so I guess we can talk about the first death in this movie.
Thanos.
The other first death.
Millions of people from the snap.
The first Avenger death.
Cap didn't die.
So
Your favorite redhead? Wait. We'll take it till he gets.
No, that's fine.
we'll let Ethan start because you actually really enjoyed that moment.
Well, thank you for having me, Colin. So I was absolutely horrified by it, and I thought it was very well done. And Colin, the death of Black Widow. But Colin can explain the scene more in its entirety and say why he didn't like it, and then I'll pop back in and explain why I did.
It's not necessarily that I didn't like it. I don't mind that Black Widow died. I think it was really impactful. The problem is, for me, it's essentially the same scene we saw with Gamora at Vormir. And they even used the same music. And so it felt like we'd just seen this. Not that I thought all the performances were good, the dialogue was good, all that.
The way they cut it together was off.
It just didn't feel as authentic to me. I would have liked them to at least change the music or something like that. I know that it had to happen that way in order to get the Soul Stone. Even after Gamora died, people were like, well, is she really going to stay dead? I had that in the back of my mind that whole time. Maybe that's more...
I disagree a lot with that, actually.
Fight!
Really?
Well, I mean, again, that's one of the main reasons why I don't like Infinity War, is because everything that happened in that movie, you had the knowledge in the back of your head, like, is that really how it's gonna happen? Especially with all the deaths at the end, but I mean, the death of Vision, the death of Gamora, all those deaths in that movie. We don't know if any of this is true. They could be lying to us. But this movie, I mean, it's called Endgame, but also just, it always had so much finality to it in every scene that death in a superhero movie, and I don't even know how long where it actually hit me, because I knew it was done. And also just, they keep heightening the tension of the scene, because it's Hawkeye and Black Widow, and both of them are trying to sacrifice themselves.
Yeah,
so
no, that was great.
And I never thought they would kill her off.
Yeah, no, I didn't
So,
either.
yeah.
That was not my first choice.
So I think that was one of the most impactful moments in the movie.
Maybe I'll look back on it better the second time I see it, now that I know that she's really gonna die.
It didn't hit me emotionally until they got back to the Avengers headquarters.
Yeah.
And then you see everybody's face, and they're like, "Where's Natasha?" And you just see Barton. He's like,
Yeah, and I mean, that's why they did
"That's
that.
when it hit me." And I was like, "Okay."
And also, they have a scene right afterwards where he's saying, like, we can't get her back. Like, you want to go talk to that red-faced motherfucker. I think that was for people, like, how you felt, where you're like, is she really?
That actually cemented it more for me. It's really just the Vormir scene
I know.
In the moment I was.
No, I'm saying that's why the Russo brothers put that one in.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the line in Infinity War where he says,
No resurrections this time.
it's like that.
Yeah. I think this is my favorite version of Bruce Banner, though. Like when he's just he's morphed with the Hulk, because you get the best of both worlds in this.
I really like what they've done with him in the last few movies.
Yeah.
It really started with Ragnarok for me, because you got to see more of Banner. I don't think he had a ton of character beforehand, and I really enjoyed him there, and I actually really enjoyed him in Infinity War too.
I don't think he's gonna be like a big character in the future films. He's just more gonna be a supporting character, which I think he's pretty much been a supporting character for.
No, I meant like by supporting, like he won't be in the field, kind of like Oracle.
This is definitely not his last movie. They're not going to just get rid of Ruffalo.
They should, just so nothing else gets spoiled.
Everybody dies.
Professional. I mean, they're gonna have their hands full with Tom Holland.
Yeah,
so.
you're not wrong.
I did think the second act dragged a bit. I mean, that's when I just felt the time a little bit.
I disagree completely. I think the pacing was absolutely fantastic, especially for
none of it
everything.
was bad.
The only parts that I felt were dragging a little bit were when they went to the past with Gamora and Thanos. When it got back to the Avengers, it really picked up for me, but those scenes really didn't.
That's alienist. Again, the only parts where I was like, ugh, was the Thor being fat, and I mean, it was funny at the beginning, but I think they just did too much of it.
Yeah.
Like, again, Thor's humor in Infinity War, I just feel like there was too much heavy hand.
In Infinity War?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I
I think a
wouldn't
lot
say-
of
I
his
wouldn't say
humor was
Infinity War.
misplaced. Like in a few scenes, it was like, again, it was just like, it was the Thor Ragnarok carrying over, but I just think there was too much of it in some scenes.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to disagree with that. I think that. Oh, we're talking about Infinity War. Yeah. But I feel like there were quite a few emotional scenes with him, especially that scene with him and Rocket. And
yeah, that was good. I'm not saying it
really
detracts from the dramatic scenes. I'm saying I feel like there was just a bit too much humor. This one was far worse in that respect, I have to say.
I thought the whole, like, when he goes back to Asgard and he's with his mother.
Yeah, that's when it really
like,
dragged. Like, I was
like
with
that
Rocket,
flag.
like, I just wanted to slap him in the face and just be like, okay, come on.
I think they definitely... I don't mind that Thor was fat. I think that... I mean, it made a lot of sense that Thor would just go off the deep end, and he didn't really care about... I mean, because you know how hard you would have to work to keep that physique.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that it was funny for 5 seconds. I definitely felt that in the audience as well, because even in moments that weren't supposed to be funny, just moments where you see Thor's gut, people were still laughing, but it wasn't necessarily supposed to be funny.
But I mean, like, I'm honestly, like, more okay with that, where then it's, like, just more subtle humor, so then it's, like, it's in the frame, so if the audience wants to laugh, they can, but it's not just a bunch of one-liners and obvious shots, that it's just accentuating his humor. It felt like a Melissa McCarthy movie at times. Like, when they're just having a conversation, they just do, like, the one-liners, like, Big Lebowski over there, like, that stuff's great, because then you get it in, maybe a reaction shot, you move on.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, like, when they were in Asgard, I was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Move on.
I thought all of the moments with Steve when they go back to the 70s, because Tony got his closure with his dad that he's always been craving, because he runs into him in the lower basements of the original S.H.I.E.L.D. office.
That was a really good moment.
Yeah, I think that was essential for Tony and the ending of the movie.
And they brought in a cameo from the actor who plays Jarvis in the canceled Agent Carter series, which I thought was...
That's cool.
I thought it was cool, but I just didn't expect it. Going back, I also loved Tony got back from space, how, like, decrepit he looked. He was super...
Like
angry and frustrated, and
you just see little subtle bits of it, but I think especially when they cut to that shot where he has the IV bag and he's in a wheelchair, it was like,
yeah, and it's really a testament to Downey's acting ability. He really sold that for me. Want to talk about the ending? The hammer.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, and Thor brought the hammer or Mjolnir in from the past where he went, and so he had Mjolnir and Stormbreaker together, which was great. But it led into Cap picking up the hammer, which everyone's always wanted. Any comic book fan knows that Captain America was worthy of Mjolnir in the comics, and it's just great to see that on screen. I think everyone's been wanting that.
And then Thor, like, he yells, like, he's like, I knew it! Like,
because it's a great callback to Age of Ultron when he makes the hammer move a little bit on the table.
Thor's just like...
It's great.
That was...
And the way that the action scene where he's holding the shield and the hammer and using them together.
His combos.
One of my favorite action scenes in the entire MCU.
Wow.
It's so good. We all lost our minds.
Yeah. He gave Thor a run for his money, like, on how well he used that thing. Dude, he made Thanos his bitch in that movie, I swear.
Yeah. One other thing, going back real quick. So they get all the Infinity Stones, and Hulk they make an Iron Man gauntlet. Hulk does the snap. They do it very slowly. They show a lot of constraint with that. You see that Hawkeye's wife calls him, and Paul Rudd is out looking, and he sees two birds, where in an earlier scene there was only one.
And I didn't notice that.
And I think that was very well done, because they easily could have done it where that's when everyone started showing up. But instead they do it where Thanos comes through a portal, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
his entire army
annihilates the entire Avengers base. And then they have it where it's just Thanos and Hulk, Thor, and Captain America. The big three, essentially.
Iron Man.
Oh, yeah. Not
Hulk wasn't there.
Yeah, not Hulk. My bad. You have, like, the big three, and it's a 3-versus-1 against Thanos. It's just like... So.
And then he brings his whole army, and you're just looking at it like, how are they going to do this?
And then, buddy, that's when it kicks in. You just see, like...
Doctor Strange or the Sorcerers.
You hear Falcon coming on the radio. He's like, Cap.
Yeah. And again, that's what I think the way they did that is so good. Because you forget that Hulk did the snap because of the fight against Thanos. So then... And they do it, like, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor aren't even in the scene. And it's just Captain America with half of his shield when the army starts coming down. And so it really gives you this hopeless feeling. Now, if you were able to pull yourself out of the movie, stop for a second, rationalize, you'd be like, everything's okay, but it's a really well done movie.
In the moment, it feels hopeless almost. Yeah. Just this massive army in front of them. And also, you know that all these characters are in completely different places. because Iron Man and some of the Guardians, or not Iron Man, I'm sorry, Spider-Man and some of the Guardians are still on Titan. And then all the other characters are in Wakanda. Like, they're all scattered throughout. For me, like, I knew they were probably going to show up at some point. I just didn't know how. It just made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When all the portals open up.
And Pepper Potts wearing that suit. That was badass. I'm not gonna lie.
I'd heard a rumor that she was going to wear that beforehand, and I was like, you know, I mean, I didn't know how to, but it really worked in the movie. We get a moment with her and Iron Man together. Look, it was so cool.
I was like, power couple. That's like Jay-Z and Beyonce.
22 films, and we got this scene, finally. The scene that I think everyone wanted to see. Everybody
You know what it is.
was in it, fighting this giant army. And, you know, in every Avengers movie we get an army, but I think it really worked in this. The Chitauri were cool in the first Avengers movie. Like, it's a good cannon fodder. The Battle of New York's still one of my favorite fights in the entire MCU. The bots in Age of Ultron, less so for me. I just felt that was a repeat of what they'd just done in the last movie. And then even in Infinity War, the Wakandan battle, just again, we get another army, but it really felt...
There were some stakes here.
Yeah, exactly.
Fans finally get that closure they've been wanting for a long time since Captain America's been a part of the Avengers. He says that famous line.
I saw it coming, but it still was great when it happened.
Yeah, that was the moment, like, before that happened is when I turned to Colin and said, I'm so fucking excited. So I was like, Avengers assemble, motherfucker.
He did say that.
Avengers?
What a fantastic battle.
And we also get a woman team up, like an array of women, just
like
power.
A very Yas Queen moment.
We were trying to count all the characters. We came up with 10. We came up with 10 at the minimum that were in that scene. Every time someone showed up, I was like, oh, it like hit me every single time. They came into the shot. It was so good.
And the cinematography of it, the fact that they did very long shots with each of it just made it feel very cohesive of a battle. It wasn't like, here's Ant-Man punching a guy, here's Thor getting a guy with his axe. It was like you're just going through the battle in so many of the shots.
So. Different sections, different Avengers.
And the only times that they really cut it where it's just 1v1, it was really just when it was the various Avengers against Thanos, which there were so many great moments there. But we'll move on.
Interesting. I think we should bring up Captain Marvel when she had her big appearance.
Yes.
That was a really great moment.
And then they did the haircut from the comics, which I thought worked.
So badass. I love that. But like Thanos is doing like this hellfire and just using his giant ship to just rain down on all the Avengers. And then the turrets go up and they start shooting into the clouds and you're like, I wonder what they're shooting at, but we all know what they're shooting at.
He thought it was Galactus.
I don't know. My mind was all over the place. My head was I don't know. I'd heard a rumor that Galactus was in it, so I don't know why.
We just see this bright light just shoot out of the clouds and straight into the freaking ship. And I love that shot because there's like an overhead shot of the ship and she like goes up into the sky from below the ship. Beautiful how they shot that. Just to show off her strength. How majestic and how powerful she is. What?
I don't know, just that word majestic. I don't know.
Very majestic, very stunning.
I'd call Thor in this movie majestic over her. It's just like that belly and that hair. That is a majestic beast.
She's a powerful woman is what I'm trying to convey.
Yeah. And they've been saying she is the strongest of them all, and they really show that in this movie. They showed a good portion of it at the end of Captain Marvel, but just her fighting Thanos... Because we saw what Thanos did to the Hulk in Infinity War, and he kicked the crap out of him. But in this movie, like, he literally punches her in the face, and she does not move.
He headbutts her, isn't that what he does?
Or one of the two, but she does not move. All right, and then I guess we can talk about how it ends.
Tony dies. Skip ahead a little bit. There's a funeral. It's really sad. Captain America, he's gonna return the Infinity Stones. They go so fast.
We'll do it better.
He doesn't go back. We'll do it better. Old man, they give him the shake. It's like, hey. And then we get a black motherfucking Captain America. And then we keep going.
So Thanos and Iron Man are like scrambling to get the Infinity Gauntlet, and Iron Man
he tricks him.
Yeah,
he tricks Thanos, and he actually has the gauntlet. And Iron Man snaps his fingers, and he destroys the entire army. Every ship disappears. Every
leaving
person,
Thanos
including Thanos,
which is fucked up.
And I thought that all the Avengers were going to come out unscathed besides Black Widow, and then we just see Tony. He looks very ill and burnt up like Thanos did at the beginning of the movie. That's when
he's not as durable as Thanos. Yeah. Like Thanos survived the snap because of how because he's a different species.
And then he just like falls back against the wall, and then you see Peter's face, and he's like coming up to Tony. Yeah. And that's when you knew you're like, this is it.
Yeah,
This
Tom
is
Holland really sold it for me.
He did.
Their relationship is one of my favorite relationships in this series, and it's kind of a new one. We've only really seen it in Civil War was the introduction, and then we got Spider-Man: Homecoming, Infinity War, and now Endgame, and that really they set that up like that. He talks a couple of times about Peter in the movie before he comes back. They finally hug, as like father and son, basically his surrogate son essentially, that was
a
really
great moment.
That was really
I wanted to
powerful
be
for me.
in that moment for like an hour. It's like, can we just pause the frame for a moment?
Yeah, because Tony has always been so out of touch with, kind of like his dad was. His dad never hugged him. He never told him he loved him.
Well, I mean, that's exactly why he was a good father. It's because he lost a child already. He knew the mistakes of his past. He didn't want to lose another Peter.
And that really brings me back to that moment in Homecoming in the car where he's, he thinks he's hugging him and he's like, no, I'm just grabbing the door for you. We're not there yet. And then he just hugs him.
Peter's like, this is nice.
That really tied that up for me. And then the moment where he's dying and Peter's just,
And that great
anguish.
line that Pepper says to him, she says, you can rest now, because
she knows he's...
Yeah. He's always been thinking about this moment since
I mean, the whole reason why he left is because Pepper said, if you don't go, you'll never be able to rest.
Exactly.
Great turn
And
back.
now he can rest.
Yeah. Going back real quick, the way that they did Tony with his daughter, every single one of those scenes, very genuine. It was just great. So it made the funeral impactful.
I love the funeral shot where it was just a long take, and it took its time. It goes to each
individual group.
of...
I love the fact that they had his arc reactor that Potts Pepper saved.
Like, what a callback to the movie that started this whole thing.
It's the proof Tony Stark does have a heart, and...
Am I the only one that felt odd that Black Widow didn't get a funeral?
I think it was more of a funeral for all of them. Because, I mean, Scarlet Witch and I think they were talking about both of them.
I guess that happened afterwards. I don't know. That's the first thing I thought of.
And then we also got a good Happy Hogan moment with...
with his daughter.
With
Tony
Stark's daughter. And they brought up the whole cheeseburger thing from the first Iron Man, and it was nice.
Yeah, they did. I didn't even put that together. Yeah. And the kid from Iron Man 3 was there.
Yep, that was great.
That was a weird callback, I thought, but... And then Cap.
It's time to wrap up his story.
Yeah. Tony's story's done. They've, after this funeral, it's over. They've gone through every character. We actually see Peter at the funeral as well, and Peter's, looks almost more sad than anybody there. Aunt May's there for him, but he just looks broken. We see him go back to his school.
And I'll be interested to see how they do that in Spider-Man Far From Home. Is Ned older than him in this? Is anybody older than him in
Yes, they're all 5 years older. We were talking about this.
Well, but again, we don't know who was snapped and who wasn't.
Yeah.
So it completely depends. If they were snapped, then they're going to be the same age, but if they weren't, then they're going to be 5 years older. So we'll see how they deal with that, because at this point, Spider-Man Far From Home is the only movie we know, or the only movie that has a release date.
Cap is going back to replace all of the Infinity Stones to their specific destinations, because if they don't, it'll
in time
screw up some things.
And Mjolnir.
And he takes Mjolnir back to that version's Thor.
I think we all knew what was going to happen when he was going up to the platform. We knew he wasn't going to come back.
There were so many calls to Peggy in the movie. You saw, I think it was a compass, and you saw her picture there. He sees her in 1970 when they go back. They have that whole moment where I'm sure he's dying to go say something to her, but he holds back. And this just felt like people have been wanting this moment for so long. I heard somebody pitch this idea that the final scene of Captain America would just be him dancing with Peggy, finally having their last dance, or their first, I guess it'd be their first dance. You see him come back as an old man, and I'm really glad they edited it that way, because, you don't actually know, they don't reveal what happens to him. You just see him as an old man immediately, and you can make your own assumptions, but then the final scene is him dancing with Peggy before.
And you see his ring,
credits.
and then Falcon's like, "You gonna tell me about that?" He's like, "I don't believe I will."
Was just a great way to finish out Cap's story, I thought.
And he passed down the mantle to
Falcon,
which I expected it to be Bucky, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
Very glad they didn't. Despite how much I loved Bucky, I'd rather Bucky stay as his own character and also finally get a black Captain America.
Which, I mean, we can talk about that. That's great.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's about goddamn time.
And I think he can pull it off. I'm not even worried about it.
I mean, and they were both Captain America in the comics. Bucky first, but Falcon in more recent comics was Captain America. And I think Falcon makes a lot more sense. I feel like Bucky is just too damaged. Not that he can't still be a hero, but just, I don't know. He's got a lot of things in his past that he's done, and he's already changed personas. He's gone from the Winter Soldier to the White Wolf. Yeah. Falcon, he's always been by Cap's side. He's so optimistic. He seems a lot more like the person who would be the leader.
Yeah.
Bucky just seems to be the sidekick, essentially. Not that he's not his own character, but I'm excited to see how they do that, because in the comics, He still pretty much keeps his Falcon costume. He has the wings and everything, but it's just red, white, and blue, and he's got the shield.
That's cool.
It's. I'm excited to see how they do that.
Hawkeye, we assume he's going to retire. It doesn't really say, but I mean, he was retired before, so why wouldn't
He's retired
stay
multiple times.
Yeah, but this time I don't see why they wouldn't keep him retired. And then Hulk, since he snapped, he's burned like Thanos was at the beginning of the movie. So,
But we assume he healed. He's got a major healing factor.
yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the reason why I think like he won't be in the game anymore is because it was still wasn't healed at all.
Oh,
And
yeah,
because he was still
That's
wearing
true.
a sling.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
So
even-
that's why I think Hulk will definitely fade from the limelight.
Which makes sense, considering, you have Iron Man who died, Cap
Yeah.
who's an old man,
Yeah, exactly.
Thor who goes, and we can talk about that, I forgot about that. Thor,
I was getting to it, and then you
no, you go for it, man.
No, it's fine.
No, it's all good, yeah.
So another ending scene in the movie is Valkyrie and Thor are standing over New Asgard, just like a small village essentially, and that's when they first get Thor and everything. But they're standing over that, and Thor essentially decides to make Valkyrie king. He never says queen. He decides to make Valkyrie the king of Asgard, and he just says he doesn't know what he's going to do, and he ends up going off with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
That'll be
Thor
interesting.
will be with them.
I'm very excited for that, though. That I talked about this earlier, but that just feels right because one thing that people said about Ragnarok after it came out is that it felt very much like a Guardians movie. They have very similar tones.
Yeah.
So and even that scene in Infinity War was great with them together. So I'm very excited to see.
He has great chemistry with Star-Lord's character and all of them essentially, but
This is a way to continue Thor's character without doing another Thor movie.
Yeah.
Because we already have the trilogy. Not a great trilogy, but we have a trilogy. When they do Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, hopefully Thor will be a part of that.
I'm curious to see how they're gonna do Gamora's character. Since she's like essentially a new Gamora, like she doesn't remember Star-Lord at all, and they've had several movies to build up the relationship. So now it's like,
Well, they purposefully have that last shot where he's looking at Gamora and then like swipes it away when somebody looks. So I think
It's gonna be a-
Quill's definitely thinking about going to find her. Now the Gamora that we knew in Infinity War is dead. That she's gone.
Yeah.
I think there's no bringing her back. They pretty much established that in Endgame that they can't just go back and bring somebody. But I think that will definitely be. I don't think Zoe Saldana's gone, but that version of her is dead.
yeah, the end of an era,
Yeah.
making way for a new generation of heroes.
And I think we had some minor flaws with the movie, but overall, like,
It's still-
what a great way to end this.
So, is there anything we're hoping for in this next generation of Marvel movies?
I don't even know where they're gonna go from here. I really don't. This is one of the first times where I'm like, what do you know?
What do you do?
What do you do now?
Reboot X-Men.
Yeah.
Get on it. Make a good Doctor Doom, please.
Do you think we're gonna see the X-Men or the Fantastic Four first?
Fantastic Four? It's Marvel's.
'Cause it's gonna happen.
It's Marvel's first family.
It's gonna
I don't
happen.
care anymore.
Well, that's the video.
Ramblers.
We are not ending it on that. Do something better.
Now that's America's ass.
That was amazing. Anything else, guys?
Hail Hydra.